But we've got to start in Spain, of course. It was first against second, Real Madrid against Girona for the big game of La Liga. And in the end, there was not much of a contest, really, because Real Madrid were far too good.
Unfortunately, it lasted about 4 minutes because the first 4 minutes, you thought Girona had all the possession.
They kept the ball well,
They were playing around Real Madrid. Real Madrid didn't play with the centre forward, which was a surprise because we thought that Vinny Jr. was going to play up front alongside Rodrigo. They went to the wide areas. And as you looked at it, you thought, well, the furthest forward player is Jude Bellingham. He's going to play in a sort of withdrawn centre-forward position. And Girona kept the ball, and then, of course, Vinny Jr. scored. And what a great goal it was, and that changed the game completely.
Was the fact that goal was super early, was it because it was a world-class goal? Or did you think that anyway Real Madrid were going to be too strong for this Girona team that have been great fairy tale, but that showed their limitations as well in that game?
It did show their limitations, but I think every pundit building up to the game was sort of saying, I think Girona can give them a game here. They're playing some great football. They can keep the ball. We know that Real Madrid don't always want to play on the front foot. They like to defend that little bit deeper and then play on the counter-attack. And it was all going according to plan. And then Vinny Jr. scores a great goal out the blue. Yeah. And you could just see the Girona players, their hearts sank, we've done everything right up until this point, and then we get a goal like that against us. And could it be one of those days? And it was one of those days where everything that Real Madrid did came off. Yeah,
that goal is great from Vinicius Jr. Yeah. Then after that, there's his assist for Jude Bellingham that scored the second. I mean, the run, the outside of the right foot, pass, everything from that second goal again showed the class.
You can look at it from two ways. The pass from Vinny Jr. is sensational outside of the boot, which you don't see very often from players these days. The run from Jude Bellingham, who was playing as a attacking midfield player, come withdrawn centre forward and makes the run in behind, and his first touch to go past the goalkeeper. What was Eric Garcia doing? How does he not see the run?
Don't get me started on Eric Garcia.
How does he not see the run of Jude Bellingham? And that is where Eric Garcia is at. And that's why Girona will never be the very top, because they've got players like Eric Garcia in their team.
Was that one of the best performances from a Real Madrid team this year? A Real Madrid team, by the way, with no centre-backs, because there's still no Alaba, no Militao, no Rudiger, not even Nacho. So they played Tchouaméni and Carvajal as the two centre-backs. Was that one of the best performances this season, you would say?
Yes, because, I've seen Girona cause teams problems with their attacking play, particularly in the wide areas, getting crosses into the box. And we kept on thinking, with Carvajal as a centre-half, surely, and Dobbik as the centre forward, surely they're going to get wide, get crosses into the box. Savio down one side and
Tsigankov on the other side.
Couto the other side, and Couto the other side. You thought they're going to get crosses in. They didn't do that. But Carvajal defended brilliantly when making interceptions and using his, I wouldn't say he's quick, but he's sharp.
Yeah, he's aware.
And Tchouaméni has proved once again he's good in the air. When the crosses did come in the box, he headed them out, and I thought he played really well. And so did Lucas Vazquez down the right-hand side, stopped Savio playing really. And it was the same with Mendy down the left-hand side. It was a really good, top-class performance, I thought, from Real Madrid.
It was. It felt at some point watching it, and you were commentating, so you were probably more even deeper in it. But for me, in front of the television, it felt like men against boys. And again, let's take nothing away from a Girona season so far that's been incredible. Yeah. But we kind of always wondered if there would be a point where, not they would be found out, but that they would really struggle. And this was a game where Mitchell was suspended, so he was in the stands. They had a couple of big players missing.
Herrera was missing.
Herrera in midfield, especially. But it really felt a bit like men against boys.
And I don't know whether you saw it. I was talking about, you can have all the best individual players, which Real Madrid have got better players than Girona. You can talk about the tactics, and Ancelotti got his tactics right. Yeah. But the one thing that stood out for me was the athleticism of Real Madrid as opposed to the lack of athleticism from Girona. Yeah. Camavinga was gliding past people with the ball. Vinny Jr. was running past, which he
does. But
Jude Bellingham, looked as though he was 3 yards quicker than in thought and physicality than the Girona players. Even Toni Kroos, who's not a great athlete, found space and could just go past that first challenge and hit those big crossfield passes. It was one of the best performances I've seen Real Madrid play. Valverde did well in midfield as well. It was just good all-round performance.
And it felt maybe a little bit that the nerves got a little bit to Girona for such a big game and the big clash, and everybody was watching. On Jude Bellingham, there is this injury, the ankle injury. We saw him coming off at the start of the second half, just after the start of the second half for his ankle. It doesn't look too bad in terms of how long it will be out, maybe 3 weeks, maybe slightly more, slightly less. He scored 2 more goals. So the first one we described it. The second one is a tap-in after the Vinicius
But you
shot.
have to remember, the second one was after he'd had his ankle injury.
Yeah,
he
true.
was limping around,
Yeah.
but he was still in the right place at the right time to put it in.
Like a number 9.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a really
yeah.
like those poachers. Yeah. Are you still impressed with him, even if maybe the last few games he'd been back to a very good level, but not the incredible level that he was at the start of the season?
You can't fail to be impressed by him. You know, his understanding of the game. You know, playing as a withdrawn centre forward is a difficult role. When do I go back into midfield?
Yeah.
You know, why? You know, do I leave there 2 centre halves with nothing to do? When do I make my forward runs? When do I go and create a 2v1 in a wide area? He did all that superbly. So his football brain is very, very good. His athleticism is very good. He's a much better player now, technically, than I thought he was at Dortmund.
Yeah,
when I've seen him play for England. I'm amazed how he can manipulate the ball in tight areas. Yeah. He makes the right decision mainly. And he's an inspirational figure on the pitch. You know, other players look to him. The crowd look to him.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say at the moment, he's becoming a little bit tetchy, which I don't think he needs to be. I think he should carry on enjoying his football rather than always seeing as though he wants to have a row with somebody.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
a little bit tetchy, you know. And I don't think he needs to be that. You know, you're playing brilliantly.
Yeah.
Go and be the footballer that you've shown us over the last 2 or 3 years, rather than having a row with the referee and a row with the opposition.
Yeah,
moan
maybe
about this and that. He's getting it off Vinny Junior, I think.
Yeah. Maybe it's that leadership to get involved and to be pretty much everywhere. I thought he was outstanding again for the 57 minutes he played or whatever. Just on Bellingham, Stu. So I think he's 16 and 17 goals this season, or 15 and 16 he was in the league. It's just incredible. We've talked already a lot about the impact that he's having on this team, what he's doing to his career. This injury, whether it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever, it's an ankle injury. Let's just hope, especially with ankles. I don't know if you ever had an ankle injury when you were playing, but you have to be really careful because sometimes you kind of come back, but then you can easily have a setback.
You have to make sure your proprioceptors are working again, which is the thing that makes you, from your actual ankle turning, your reflexes to make it not turn. It looked, because it wasn't just once he did it. He did it twice in the game.
Right,
So he did it early on in the halfway through the first half,
and he stayed on the floor a little bit.
He stayed on the floor, and when we saw the replay, he thought that looked bad. We were surprised that he got through that, and then he slipped in the box, and then he caught his ankle again. And that did look a bad one. But hopefully it's only 3-4 weeks. But he's going to have to make sure the treatment's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, to come back. If you're Carlo Ancelotti now, and again, Real Madrid are in a very good position in the league. We will discuss that later. But there's a big Champions League game coming against Leipzig, who are going to be better than Girona, certainly on that day. Do you keep the same formation? That diamond midfield, and you put Brahim Diaz as a 10, for example, and you still have Vini and Rodrigo, or as we saw in this game and as you mentioned already before in the debrief, you put Vini and Rodrigo back as wingers where the natural position is, and you put Joselu as a 9, and then you midfield 3 behind, whether that's Camavinga, Valverde and Cruz, or whoever you want. What would you do?
Well, that's the options he's got. Joselu, I saw play a couple of weeks ago, and he played very well as the main centre forward. Scored a couple of goals. He was always lively in the box. He has a good touch to take him past a defender. I can't remember. I think it's Getafe. I think he played really well against. But I think he will stick with, and he won't play them quite as wide. I think Vinny Junior and Rodrigo will play sort of inside right for those that remember those positions. Inside right, inside left, and Brahim will play at the top of a diamond in midfield. I think that's what they will play. And I like the fact that Camavinga didn't play as the holding player. Toni Kroos played as the holding player. Camavinga, I thought, was
outstanding.
He's outstanding. His pace, how he took defence to attack, was excellent. So I would stick with that, and Valverde on the right hand side of that midfield diamond, with Vasquez probably in another game getting forward down the right hand side. Getting crosses into the box, and Mendy doing the same down the left-hand side. Yeah,
I mean, I guess it makes sense to just keep that formation that has been working, the system that's been working so well, and that suits Brahim in a way, because I think Brahim could be a very capable number 10, and we've seen him doing well when he played there. I think now Rodrigo and Vinicius, I've been more used to playing in those positions, and then I think for Camavinga and Valverde, this is the perfect formation as well. I think people have slept a little bit on Camavinga this season, I feel. And maybe because Bellingham has been so good and because Vini is the star. But I think Camavinga has been outstanding.
That's it. With Camavinga, there's one slight problem I have with it. I don't like him in the holding midfield role.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because when he's not so good in tight areas.
Yeah.
There's times when the ball gets played into him and he's not aware of players coming around the back of him, and he sort of then gives possession away in a bad area.
Yeah.
And if it gets too tight, he might have the ball nicked off of him. But when he gets in that sort of left-sided midfield in a diamond, and there's space in front of him, and he avoids the first challenge, he goes from there to there so quickly. And I mean,
he's so strong.
He was powerful, he was quick, he made good decisions. I think he was outstanding, and he wins the ball back. And I think he's curbed his sort of appetite to go and foul people. You know, he's just a much better tackler.
He's learning how to manage himself, definitely. And he's still such a young player.
Yeah.
You know, let's not forget how early he moved to Real Madrid from Rennes as well. So it's not.
Because we remember when he played those first few games for Rennes. When
exactly.
I actually did him in, I think, his second game. And I didn't know too much about him. And someone said, he's 16. What?
Yeah.
16. He played with such maturity and so much composure.
There was that game against PSG in Rennes, where in the start of the season, it was August or something, and he was only 17. That must have been his second season or first full season. And he just ran that game and bossed that game, and Verratti could not get close to him. No. They could not get the ball off him. It was really impressive. And I think, again, if you put him in the right environment and the right position, because I think he can play as a 6, but you're right, it's not, you don't get the best out of him.
You lose something. If you play him in that number 6 role, you lose something.
I think he's a perfect kind of box-to-box with the freedom to go forward and back and do all that kind of energy that he has. Because that's where I think he's so good.
Yeah.
Is the title race done? 5 points now?
Unfortunately, it's early in the season to say it, but Real Madrid look as though they're going to run away with the title. I can't see Girona coming back from this. Real Madrid just have too much about them. Barcelona aren't going to catch them up. Barcelona's still got their problems.
Yeah.
Real Madrid seem to be gaining in confidence, even though, as you've just already mentioned, no centre halves.
No centre halves, yeah.
Alaba missing, Rudiger missing, Nacho missing.
Nacho,
you know, they're all missing. Yet they still didn't look flustered or didn't look under any sort of pressure. My question, I think you were going to say that can they continue with these two as centre backs?
Yeah.
I remember a game many years ago. Juventus were 3-0 down from the first leg in Juventus, and they went to Real Madrid, and I was doing the commentary. I said, the only way I can see Juventus getting back into this, if they keep getting crosses to the far post, and Mandzukic, who was then playing on the left-hand side, gets up against Carvajal and keeps beating him in the air. Well, he scored 2 early goals, and I think
I remember that game.
And they got back to 3 through it, and Real Madrid won. But surely teams have to look at that. When Carvajal's playing as one of the centre halves, we've got to stick balls on top of him and get our best header of the ball going up against him, because he can't avoid that. You can't hide that. You know, he's not good in the air.
Yeah.
He's not a big player.
No,
he's not used to being good in the air. So that's something that other teams might focus on and cause Real Madrid a problem.
But then we thought, as we said earlier, that Girona might do that with Dovbyk, and then they didn't do it. They were not even space for their crosses.
And that was, you know, Michel is meant to be a great coach and has done a fantastic job. But that had to be the game plan. Get it wide, Jan Couto to get crosses into the box. But they turned away from it. And Dovbyk even didn't make runs into the box. He was coming short to get on the ball. And you're thinking, what have they seen that we haven't? You know.
I mean, for Jan Couto, by the way, who's been one of the revelations of the season, who's been good, but Vini just destroyed him.
Which he can.
And which he's done to a lot of right backs. It's not just Jan Couto.
Every mistake he made ended up being a goal or a chance. So, you had to feel a bit sorry for him. And I'm not sure it was great that all the other players, every time he made a mistake, went over and patted him on the back as if to say, it's his mistake again. It was a difficult game.
I mean, there's still a Clásico to come, albeit at the Bernabeu, but potentially you can drop points. There will be games where probably Real Madrid are going to be tested more than in this game where, as we said, Girona were probably just not good enough, and the whole occasion was a bit too much for them. But 5 points.
Can you see any side going on a run where they don't lose another game?
Well, Girona will need to win every single game between now and the end of the season, and hope for Real Madrid to lose some.
And Barcelona likewise. And Barcelona can't go and beat Granada.
Exactly.
So,
what do we expect now from a Girona point of view? Just secure top 4, which already and you've been to their stadium. It's not a Champions League stadium.
No.
This is not a Champions League club. Full stop.
No.
But for them to finish top 4 would be almost like title winning.
It would be fantastic, and I think that's been their main aim from the start of the season. Once they got into that top area, that's what they've been talking about. They've never talked about winning the title. They've talked about being a top 4 club, and they've done very well. They need their best players playing. That's proof.
For sure,
they
definitely.
need Herrera in midfield. He's dynamic. He would have given Camavinga a good run for his money.
For sure.
Daley Blint's not quick, but he would have been able to play out from the back better than the players that they had in the team at the weekend. And they need Savio to be more consistent. He's a young player that everybody's talking about. He didn't play very well against Lucas Vázquez. He played much better when he went to the other side of the field late on in the game when the game was already dead. But they're going to have to play at their very best. Where will they finish? I think probably third. I think they're going to. That would knock their confidence severely. I think.
And just to finish, I like what Michel said after the game. He said, "Listen, Real Madrid, this is not our Liga. Our Liga is Bilbao, Real Sociedad, Valencia, Villarreal, this kind of club." He said, "Barca, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, they're not. This is not our league.
No.
Our league is." Which I mean, it would have been strange for him to say something else after being spanked 4-0 against Real Madrid. But I just like the fact that they also know where they're coming from, where they belong. And if they finish top 4, then amazing.
And there was a great Martin Einstein's Bicycle Diaries with the sporting director talking about how they have to get their players. And they have to get players that have been good players but are out of form, have been left out of the other clubs. They've had injuries and they're coming back from injuries, or they're young players that have failed somewhere else but they can see potential. That's how they get their players. And they try and get the best out of them. And Michel has done that.
Yeah, he's done that. And there's also a bit of help from the City Football Group. But that's one for another day.
We won't go down that road.
Let's not go there.